Good morning. I've been wanting to share a resource that I use in my classes a lot, so I thought that this would be a good time. We use it in class, and then it's something that a lot of my students will take home and they'll show their parents, and they really enjoy it. And I realize how a lot of people don't know about it, and it's a really handy tool if you're a farmer, if you're a landowner, if you're in construction. There's just so many applications for this tool. So I thought I'd take a few minutes this morning and show you how to use it. So I'm going to swap here. If you give me just a second, share my screen. And so what I do to find it is just go to Websoil Survey. And it's always the first link that pops up. So I'm going to click on that. And I see this green dot. This is the one that I'm looking for. You can read the introduction, but I'm going to tell you a lot of the cool things about it. So I click Websoil Survey, and then this is the page where it's always going to start. And what we want to do is find our farm or find our land, whatever you're looking for. So you could just click this plus button and zoom in, but that's not going to be the fastest way. And I'm still left. Here we are in the Golden Triangle, looking for Henry County. I'm still left trying to find my farm. So the easiest way for me is to go to the address bar. So a lot of people know where I live, next to the high school. Now, if I hit enter, it's going to look for that, and it's going to show me every 894 Eminence Road. So to help it out a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and put the zip code and then hit enter. And there it is. So we can see Henry County High School and the middle school and the football field and the baseball and softball fields in the back. And this is my farm. But I want to zoom in just a little bit. And then I can also kind of move it. So I want to center my farm. And then I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So if I click right in the middle, now I can see all the boundaries on my farm. I'm going to move this up just a touch. And I want to find, at this point, I want to make an area of interest. I want to tell the computer, or tell the website, I guess, what land I want to be looking for. And so there's two ways to do it. There is just a square area of interest where I'm going to be able to make a rectangle. Those farms aren't rectangular. You know, if it doesn't matter what your boundaries of your farm are, then that might be for you. It's quick, but I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to pick a corner of my property, and I'm going to click one time, and that's going to start this box. So every corner, I'm going to click, 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 click. I guess I'll go ahead and put my house in there. Click. And when I get to the last corner, I am going to double click, and that'll close the box. And you can see that I'm creating an area of interest. And interesting to me that the picture kind of changed to a different picture. But there's lots of things now that I have this area of interest. There's lots of things that I can do with that. So we can start with our soil map, and it's going to tell me the different soil types that I have and what percent. So my biggest percent is the ULFC, so I can kind of see it right here and right here. And it'll tell me the soil type, how many acres, and what percentage it is. So if I click on this one, it'll tell me more information about it. So I can see the elevation, the annual precipitation. We can see the typical soil profile. So this is really interesting to me because we talk about profiles in class. So I have my topsoil 0 to 8 inches. So that kind of varies a lot. It's going to be a silt loam. And then my subsoil, I'll have a couple silty clays, and then 53 to 63 inches until I hit bedrock. The slope is 6 to 12%. A restrictive feature would be that bedrock. It's usually well drained. It's a medium runoff, and the capacity of the most limiting layer to transmit water, depth to water table, frequency of flooding. So there's lots of information on here about that soil type. So I was kind of a soil nerd in college. I really liked soils. I liked my soil professor. I did land judging. So that was really interesting to me. And it's important, but there are more practical things, I guess, that this can do. So let's go on to Soil Data Explorer. And this is where a lot of the really cool things, I guess the really cool features show up. So you can look at building site development. You can look, and you just push on that button, construction materials. You can look at disaster recovery planning, land classification. You can find out a lot on there. Land management. So we're getting ready to put in some fencing, so I can find some important information there. So lots of things there. Recreational, military operations is there. Recreational development, so if you were going to put in a playground or a camp area. Sanitary facilities, septic tanks. Soil health, a lot of good things you can find here. One of my favorites that my students really enjoy too is this vegetative productivity. So we have ours in alfalfa currently. So we don't irrigate. So we're going to go down here to yields of non-irrigated crops. And it's alphabetical, so alfalfa hay automatically comes up. I can also do the same thing for tobacco, corn, grass hay, pasture, soybeans, and winter wheat. I'm going to leave it on alfalfa. And I'm going to click View Rating. And it takes just a minute. And the rating, you can see my colors here kind of match up to the different soil types. The rating is going to tell me, and it says it on here. Yeah, the yield units are in tons. So you can see that in my FYD2, that's down here by the road. We don't have hay there, but I would only be able to get 2 tons off of that, where on my ULSOB soil right here, this blue soil, and that's right here where my house is too. That's where I've got my garden. I could get 5.2 tons per the acre. And then the other 2 are just behind that right here. If you remember, and that helps me for planning, but if you remember on that first picture, it had some crops and it actually showed tobacco. And I know this was about 12 years ago because they had tobacco whenever I moved here, because I took my students and went and showed them. But and this is pounds per acre. The highest would be that Shelbyville loam, and actually I think you can kind of see it, but I took my students to the field right here. This is before we owned it, and we watched them harvest tobacco, and it was right here is where they had their tobacco. So I'm pretty sure that they knew their soil types, and they were looking for the best soil on the farm to plant that. So that's one of the most useful things I think of this, is being able to use that tool. And we had a land farming company that wanted to come near the school, and I used this manure and food processing waste tab. Definitely not against land farming, but there's good spots to do it and there's not so good spots to do it. And so that's how I got that information when I was doing research on this. And then water management, there's a lot of information on there that you can find as well. So you can measure acreage on here. You can look at soil types. You saw me do the vegetative productivity. I really like that one, but it's really good just kind of play around. We also use this one in class. I mentioned that we talk about soil a lot in class. And so my students, when we're studying pH, they can look at the pH tab, some other ones that we do, the soil physical properties. they find it interesting that we could look and just figure out what the percentage of sand, silt, and clay are, because we have a couple labs that allow us to do that in class. And so this is kind of a lot quicker way than the labs. You can see the organic matter that's available, soil qualities and features. You can see, again, that depth to a soil restrictive layer. You can see what types of parent material you have. A lot of cool information on there. Depth to water table, flooding frequency. So if you were buying some land, you could see, hey, well, is this a possibility of it flooding? So again, just lots of neat things that you can do with this. I want to keep the video fairly short so that you can, so that you'll watch it, I guess, and then you can go around. Hopefully I showed you enough that you can go around and play with it yourself. You can also print these things off if you want to do that. So lots of good things that you can do. And show you just one more time. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, so if I wanted a new area of interest, I'm going to put clear area of interest, and then kind of show you this other area of interest tool. So that's the rectangular one. I just drag my box and it's going to create that rectangular area of interest. And it doesn't work really well on super small areas like 1 acre or 2 acres. But my farm, what you could see, was 31 acres. And it works really well on that. So it's pretty neat. My students enjoy it, and hopefully it'll be something maybe that you can use too. So I'm gonna stop sharing and head back over here, so you should be able to see me again. So it's Websoil survey, and all I did was I'll type it into Google. It's kind of the fastest way because it pulls up pretty quick. And if there's anything else that you want to learn about, I'm getting creative this summer since it's a little bit tougher to work with students. This is just kind of some things that I know about and want to share with you guys. So if you have any questions, just let me know. lindsay.davy@henry.kyschools.us is my email, and I'd love to help you out this summer. So I'm going to stop recording. Sorry, it takes just a second.